Here's the thing. Have you ever noticed that very specific smell in the air right before a storm breaks? It's electric, heavy, almost thrilling. That feeling? That's Petrichor. And when it's Engfa and Charlotte walking through that rain, you immediately understand this isn't just a passing storm. Petrichor, in this story, becomes something deeper, almost like a scent powerful enough to awaken memories you thought were buried for good. The name itself isn't random. It comes from the Greek Petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the fluid that ran through the veins of the gods. It's that earthy, slightly sweet, almost sharp smell that rises when rain hits dry ground after a long drought. And in the series, that scent becomes a metaphor for the protagonist's life, a dry, hardened, emotional landscape shaped by duty and trauma, suddenly hit by an overwhelming emotional storm. Because this isn't just a love story. It's about truth, and how truth, like rain, can refresh you, but can also drown you if you're not ready to face it. What makes Petrichor stand out is how it completely shifts away from the pastel tones of classic college dramas and leans into something darker, more mature, almost cinematic. It really marks a turning point for EngLot after Show Me Love. The atmosphere here is heavier, more dangerous. These aren't two girls discovering themselves anymore. These are two women navigating a noir world where everything is layered, messy, and morally complex. At the core of the story is the dynamic between the two leads, and it's built on contrast, but with a twist that feels fresh. Tulip is the anchor. She's a woman of the law, someone who relies on evidence, on structure, on rules. Her life is controlled, almost rigid. But beneath that uniform, there's a vulnerability that only starts to surface when the case she's working on stops being just another job. It becomes personal. For Engfa, this role is a real challenge because she has to move between that composed authority and something much more fragile, much more human. Then there's Charon, who is anything but predictable. She's not your typical damsel in distress. She's layered, guarded, and always seems to know more than she lets on. She represents chaos, but also mystery. She's connected to a serial killer case, making this one of the first GL thrillers to explore that kind of territory, and Charlotte brings this quiet, almost haunting elegance to the role. Charon is clearly carrying deep trauma, and there's a lingering anger in her that makes her relationship with Tulip incredibly complicated, especially because Tulip represents the police, an institution Charon has every reason not to trust. What you get between them is this constant push and pull, almost like a cat-and-mouse game where the roles keep shifting. You're never quite sure who's chasing who. And their connection doesn't begin in some warm, sunlit cafe, it starts in the shadows of an investigation. The tension is built through silence, through what isn't said. Every clue they uncover brings them closer to solving the case, but at the same time, it reduces the distance between them, physically and emotionally. For Tulip, justice was always something clear-cut, black and white, until her personal life collided with her professional one. At the center of that emotional conflict is her relationship with her brother. He's not just family, he's her safe place, her past, her sense of stability in a chaotic world. He's the one who held her together when everything else was falling apart, and over time, he became her moral compass. So for Tulip, betraying him wouldn't just be a choice, it would feel like tearing away a part of herself. And then, on the other side, there's Ran, who represents everything her brother is not. Ran is uncertainty, risk, but also a kind of truth Tulip has never allowed herself to confront. If her brother is the safe harbor, Ran is the open sea during a storm, dangerous, unpredictable, but also real. This is a love that doesn't follow rules, that doesn't fit into any structure Tulip understands, and it forces her to question who she is, not just as a detective, but as a person. And that's where the real conflict hits. Choosing her brother means choosing loyalty, silence, protection, but also suffocation, living inside a version of peace that isn't entirely honest. Choosing Ran means stepping into a painful truth, one that could destroy everything she thought she knew about her past, but might finally allow her to build something real for her future. It's an impossible choice, and that's the tragedy at the heart of Petrichor. It's not just about uncovering who the culprit is, it's about understanding the cost of doing the right thing when the person you love is standing on the opposite side. Visually, the series is stunning, but in a very melancholic way. Forget warm filters. This world is painted in deep blues, grays, and forest greens. Rain is almost always present, turning the streets into reflective surfaces that mirror both the neon lights and the emotional turmoil of the characters. And then there's the pacing. This is a true slow burn. The direction takes its time, lingering on small details, a hand brushing another by accident, the sound of breathing after running, the rhythm of rain hitting glass. It builds tension not just emotionally but physically, almost sensorially. You don't just watch it, you feel it. Watching Petrichor is like sitting under a porch during a summer storm. There's danger in the air, but also a strange sense of comfort. And in the end, what the series really tells you is that sometimes you have to let yourself get soaked, get messy, face the truth head on, just to finally breathe again. It's a story that rewards attention, that asks you to look beyond the surface, and that isn't afraid to pull you into its storm. So if you're looking for something that can make your heart race while keeping you on edge with its mystery, this might just be the series you've been waiting for. So I've got to ask, what would you do if you were standing there in the rain with Tulip? Would you play it safe with that lifelong bond, the person who's been your rock since day one? Or would you chase that spark, that intense love that promises the truth, even if the truth is going to hurt? Let me know in the comments what you think about this new, darker side of Engfa and Charlotte. Is it just me? Or can you guys not even smell the rain anymore without thinking of them? Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dives into the GL world. Catch you in the next one.